Carry On Sergeant is a Canadian film that was released in 1928. Now, this is a World War One drama. I did see in certain places that it said that it was the first World War One drama. That is simply not true. I think what they meant was that it is Canada's first World War One drama because, of course, there was Britain's comradeship that had Lily Elsie in it. And that was filmed right at Armistice because it had the crowds of Armistice. And of course, there is Four Horsemen in the Apocalypse with Rob Valentino. And so, yeah, there are plenty of World War One films. And yeah, no, I would agree that this is Canada's first World War One drama. And it is also considered to be one of the earliest of Canada's feature-length motion pictures. Now, this is actually the most expensive of Canada's silent movies. Okay, so at the time in 1928, it cost in Canada money around $500,000. Okay, and now that would be over $9 million. So yeah, that's a lot of money. Okay. Um, which, in all honesty, considering what I watched, I can see it. Look, this is a movie about World War One, and it was showing, I mean, there were explosions and the whole nine yards and that kind of thing. You didn't just have this plot, a lot like with Four Horsemen in the Apocalypse with that had Rudolph Valentino. No, it didn't have that. I mean, it was showing in the trenches and all that. It's more like War Horse, And so I'm going to name them all here. So, yeah, I mean, it had everything. Okay, so it was money well spent on this one. I was impressed. I was very, very impressed when I was watching this movie. In fact, when I did a little more digging, apparently when they were doing this, there was no script. You could have fooled me. Okay, I'm telling you right now, because actually it it was well done. Okay, because it starts off with Bob Mackey. Okay, so Bob Mackey and his friend Sid, they work at the mine, like coal miners and everything. Yeah, they work as coal miners, and Bob is head over heels for this gal Ruth. Okay, and so he gets engaged to her, and this is right before the war breaks out. Okay, so he gets engaged to her and everything. Well, there's also this other side story of the owner. That's what I was getting anyway. It was the owner of the mines. His name is uh of all names, James Cameron. James Cameron and his son Donald Cameron. Okay. And so when the war breaks out, it turns out that Donald Cameron ends up going off to war. He enlists Bob Mackey, he's newlywed, and he goes off to war. Sid goes with him. Now, I do want to say this is that Bob and Sid remind me of the old Hollywood duos, like Bob Hope and Bing Crosby, Abbott and Costello. A lot of people are watching who is on first right now. That's who they remind me of when I'm watching this. Sid is like the comic relief, okay? And I mean, I was having a blast watching him. I really was. So so anyway, it goes on where you see a lot of the progression of Bob ending up the sergeant because of course he is the sergeant that they're talking about in the title of the movie. So it shows him going from private to sergeant as the movie goes on. And they end up in France and, and the farm that they are staying at, the farmer's wife is hilarious. She has 1,000 kids And it even says in the movie, I loved this. It even says in the movie that she has a little army of her own for the next war. So it keeps its humor. This is the thing, is that this movie keeps its humor at the same time showing the seriousness of the war. And so it has a balance to it, and I like that. Okay, I really appreciate that. And so in France, there's this gal, Marthe, and she takes a liking to Bob. Okay, and she is obsessed. She won't let go. Okay, and I'm pretty much going to stop it there. All right, because I don't want to I don't want to give away anything else. Okay. And but I do have to say that the young lady who played Martha, she looks really familiar, and I think it's more her eyes than anything else. This is the only thing that she did. This is the only movie that she did. So it must be a recent actress that she looks like, and it was driving me nuts because I was like, she looks like, oh my heavens. Well, here's the thing is that this movie went under controversy because of the content of the film, not just because of the hardships of World War One, and some of the gruesome realities of World War One, because, there are other movies such as some that I mentioned, but it's because of other content further on in the movie. So it said that it was released at the end of the silent era, and after a brief theatrical run, it disappeared from view. But this is the thing is it wasn't lost. Okay, this movie was it's not like it was lost like other movies and all of a sudden somebody just kind of found it. No, it says that it was revived in the 70s when the National Archives of Canada struck up a new print. So it sounds to me like I mean, if it turns out that it was lost and they found it again, then fine, I'm wrong. And wouldn't be the first time. But it does sound to me like because it went under such scrutiny because of the content in it, that they decided to put it on the back shelf. And then for some reason in the 70s, it got this revival of some kind, and they're like, okay, yeah, we'll bring it back out. And so that's what it sounds like. Now, final note is that when I was searching for this, I was searching for a poster of some kind. It turns out that in the 50s in the UK, they have a film and it's called Carry On Sergeant. It was in 1958, and it turns out that there was like a series that was called Carry On Nurse and everything. So, and this has quite a following too, but it looks like it's not even related um to the movie at all. So, from the look of it, from it has no connection to this at all. I mean, if you know anything about this movie, this British movie, um, let us know. But I didn't see any connection at all when I was reading up on it. But anyway, this is Carry On Sergeant. It is a Canadian film. It was released in 1928.